Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Caregiving Gen X Style. I'm Steve Mullen.
And I'm Jennifer Mullen.
So first off, welcome to 2026. Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year.
And with this being our first episode of 2026, we thought it'd be a good time to make some caregiving resolutions. We will run through some suggestions in this episode. But first, Jennifer, how is your mom?
Goggy's doing well.
Good.
So, things have been pretty status quo lately. The holidays were good. We always go to my brother's for Christmas Eve. So, we were able to do that as we normally do.
Unfortunately, I was sick and couldn't go.
Yeah, you were sick. Yeah. Mom's been great. You've been sick and our daughter's been sick. Yep. So it's been a different type of caregiving, actually, for the last few weeks. But really, Mom's doing well and great way to start off 2026. And knock on wood, I'll knock on the wood of our dining room table and hope that it stays that way. So, Steve, how's your mom?
She's also doing fine. As of the day we're recording it, yesterday we had our side of the family's celebration, which is when my brother comes down and he brings his 3 adult daughters, their spouses, and their children. Each one of them has a child, although one of them just had a baby and was unable to come with her spouse or the baby for that matter. But, we get together in the activity room of the assisted living and we just have a little lunch. We exchange some presents and had a good time. I had to go in and fix my mother's bed, which has been acting up.
Yeah. Well, you had to fix it yesterday while we were there and also in the middle of a family game of Monopoly the other night.
Yeah, we were in the middle of playing Monopoly.
You had to go fix it.
Yeah, it was about 8 o'clock. I had to get up and head on over there. It's been acting up, and I think I maybe have an idea of what's going on. Hopefully the fix that I made yesterday will prove to be a permanent fix. We will see.
Yeah, let's hope so.
So resolutions. They're a time-honored tradition when you select something about yourself that you'll try to improve in the new year. And in this episode, we were going to have some suggestions for things you can resolve to do. Now, I will say, we have talked about a lot of these things in previous episodes, but, it's a good thing to just put them out there and think about it.
Well, much like New Year's resolutions, in which you may make the same New Year's resolutions year after year, it's sort of, I suppose, is fitting that we're going to offer some suggestions on things that we, as you noted, have talked about before, we've tried before. Sometimes we're better about it than others, but it's a great time to reflect and maybe try to put a little more oomph behind some of these things. So
why don't you kick us off?
First up. Find more joy. So this is really, really tough if you're neck deep in a stressful caregiving situation.
Or even day to day.
Or, right, if it's day-to-day stress, or if you're dealing with something like, hospitalization, but just trying to find some joy in life, and specifically in your caregiving life is key. So perhaps the way to attack this is to resolve each day to try to find something positive about your life. So perhaps it's your health, or your children, or even that you get to spend more time with a loved one that you're caring for. In short, really focusing on small joys can really help, like filling the pill box right on the first try. And that is no small feat, let me tell you, with all the different medications my mom is on now, and it's this one 3 days a week, and half a pill of that one 4 days a week, and these during the day, and these at night, and some of these are day and night. Getting it right, it does feel like an accomplishment.
It aren't easy.
It's not. So maybe you've cooked a meal perfectly, or you're actually having a successful afternoon where neither you nor your loved one ends up getting annoyed. And that's actually a good one, because my mom and I can annoy each other sometimes.
Mine
I know
too.
My mom and my brother annoy each other sometimes. So that's actually
the call during the Monopoly game was a little annoying to me because the function of her bed that was not working did not seem like one that had to be fixed at that moment.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I tried to walk a CNA through fixing it and made it worse. Then the bed was no longer working at all.
Yeah.
So that's when I had to get up and get in the car and go over there.
Well, whatever they are, these things can all be big victories worth celebrating, taking just a moment to think about and say, okay, that went well today. It's extremely difficult, particularly since we as Gen Xers tend to be a pretty cynical group, but it's definitely worth trying.
It is true. And I do tend to be rather cynical.
What?
On a related note, our second suggestion is to take care of yourself. And I'm quite sure Jennifer's going to bring something up about oxygen masks and stuff like that. You've heard
Put
it before.
Your oxygen mask on your face first before you try to put it on somebody else. That's what they tell you on the airplane.
We have talked a ton about self-care on this podcast because it's so important. If you're the type of caregiver who is involved 24 hours a day, this is hard, even if you're not. But, there are little bits of time throughout the day when you can find 10 or 15 minutes to do something for yourself. Sitting down, reading a magazine, stepping outside, walking around the block, even a trip to the drugstore. I remember times when I had to go stay with my mother for a little bit. That trip to the drugstore just felt so freeing.
Yeah.
It's
it is
weird.
True. That is true.
Who wants to go to your local drugstore? But it just felt so freeing.
Yeah, but you get in the car. Like for me, I'd get in the car, I'd turn on a podcast, I'd sit in the drive-thru at CVS to pick up a prescription. Yeah, there is something to be said for just those few minutes.
And maybe while you're there, buy yourself a little something, a treat of some kind. You maybe don't just pick up the necessities. Just find some way to take care of yourself. It's really important.
Yep. Well, our third suggestion, we've talked about this before too. Again, reminder, these are all New Year's resolutions, so renewed efforts to do some of these things. And our third suggestion is to seek support. We're not talking about respite care here because that's going to come up later. But what we're talking about is reaching out and finding someone who will listen. This can mean seeing a therapist, either in person or virtually, which of course is an option these days. It could also mean going online and finding a formal support group. Or maybe you find a community on social media like Facebook or Reddit that's, full of people who are really living the same life you are or some version of it. We all need people to talk to. So being isolated, particularly if your loved one isn't capable of holding much of a conversation anymore, really is not healthy for humans.
It's absolutely true. And our fourth suggestion, plan ahead. Now, we've hammered on this one. I know it, but it's so important. We've had entire episodes on this, in fact. But planning ahead is one of the best ways to make your caregiving life easier. So, for instance, if you anticipate needing a nursing home, memory care, assisted living down the road, even if your loved one's not ready for it yet, start looking around, at least find out what's available in your area. Now, we lived this. We had to go, at a moment's notice, drop everything and start hunting. And, it's going to reduce the amount of scrambling that needs to be done later.
Yeah, and we were scrambling with your mom, and anyone who's been listening for any length of time, they know what the situation was. We found ourselves really in the situation. You're up to that point, there was no indication whatsoever that your mom was not going to be able to continue living independently for some period of time.
Although, I'll jump in and argue with you a little bit. I did have a conversation with her before her legs stopped working. And I remember saying, would you consider moving into an assisted living? Your mobility's gone downhill. It could take it easier. No.
Well, right.
But at that point, I knew it was coming at some point. And at that point, I should have been looking at least a little bit. Let me find out what's around.
Yeah, I feel like it came on so fast, though. I wouldn't beat yourself up too much about that.
But it's something I should have done.
Like, I do think, my brother and I sort of talk about it. We talk around it. Our goal, as we say all the time, is to keep Gagi living independently as long as possible. This is probably something that we really need to put a focus on in 2026.
I do not disagree.
Also, make sure all of your loved ones' insurance information, speaking of planning ahead, make sure their insurance information, medication lists are easy to find in case there's an emergency. We've all had that mad scramble to find these things, if we're running to the hospital, and if they're in an easy to access place, all you have to do is grab them. I will mention, I think I've mentioned this before, my brother and I keep a shared note that has mom's updated medication list on it. We also keep several printed copies out, so they're on her kitchen counter. There's one tucked in her purse. So those are things we've learned along the way when we've had these quick, unexpected trips to the hospital, or frankly, even just taking her to the multitude of doctor's appointments. It's great to, and I love the look on the doctor's face when we whip out the sheet. Then they start asking me a question. I was like, what what's the dosage of this particular medication? Oh,
Whip.
Let me show you. And
Yep.
they, their eyes, of course, her doctors that we see regularly,
They know.
they're not surprised now. They're like, you two, my brother and I, you two are the most organized caregivers we've ever seen. But that's really because we've learned, and we've learned sometimes the hard way.
Well, and I'd suggest, personally, I'd suggest putting it in an envelope and do a magnet on the top of, outside of the refrigerator.
Yeah.
And that way it's there. It's just always there.
The challenge can be with someone like my mom, as you know, Steve, her medications are changing regularly.
Yes.
We're in the middle right now of trying to get the right dosage for her fluid pill. And so it's up. It's down. Let's start taking this one. Oh, her last blood work showed maybe her kidneys are struggling a little bit. So let's go easy on this other medication for a little bit. It is constantly changing. But I've learned things along the way. By the way, I make sure there's a date at the top of each, printed medication list of, when was it last updated so that we can keep track of that. All of those things. Some of those are shorter term organization, but the planning ahead is to make sure you have copies of all of these things readily available for when you need them. So, and of course, if your loved one only needs a bit of help at the moment, you need to be planning for what's going to happen down the road for when they're going to need more help. Do you have other family members you can lean on? And if so, what can each of them do? We've talked about this before. Sort of everyone in the family kind of has their role and their strengths, or at least you hope they have their role that is not the role of being completely unengaged. But think through those things. Is someone better with finances? Is someone better with medical things? I think about my good childhood friend. She's one of 4 girls. And when they ultimately lost their mom, who was in a horrific car accident, my friend happens to be a nurse, and she was the one who had been designated by the family to be the medical power of attorney. Her sister, who's married to a finance guy, was the one who was designated to be, in charge of all the finances. And it worked really well for them to have that lined up that way. Planning for the future is definitely something I think we wish we had done more of, and we definitely urge all of you to learn from our lack of forethought.
Learn from our mistakes.
Yep.
Our final suggested resolution is to let go of the guilt and the self-doubt. Again, we did a whole episode on guilt.
It's a tough one.
It is a tough one. It's one of the biggest problems for caregivers, and it tends to go along with the self-doubt. You're guilty because you don't think you're doing enough, and you doubt that you know how to do it right.
Yep.
In short, you are not a bad caregiver. You're just human.
Yeah. It's kind of like imposter syndrome, though. I think about that. Like, I feel that way at work often. And I know I have coworkers who can feel that way sometimes, and I feel that way sometimes with caregiving too. Like, yeah, I think I'm doing a good job, but actually I'm really not sure I'm doing a good job. Yeah, it's tough. It
is. And feeling guilt for taking care of yourself, is absolutely the wrong way to go. We talked about it earlier. You need to take care of yourself. Your loved one didn't choose to need help, and you didn't choose to be the one to help them necessarily. These things just happened. So because those things happened, it doesn't mean you are not entitled to a little me time to do the self-care things we mentioned earlier. So regarding self-doubt, we know that most caregivers are their own harshest critics. Don't focus on the negatives. If things didn't go well today, don't lie awake at night tonight, beating yourself up. Just move on. Try to do better tomorrow. As Ted Lasso says, I don't know if you've watched this show, Be a goldfish. Be a goldfish.
I love it.
What a great show.
Man, we should watch that show again, Steve.
We could do that.
We should totally watch that again.
Yeah. I could watch that
There's
again.
a lot of good life lessons in that Ted Lasso.
Absolutely. So this has been a little bit of a short episode, but we wanted to toss out some of these suggestions for things that we and everyone listening should try to think about this year. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, let's start off the new year. It does always feel just sort of like you have a blank slate ahead of you, time for a fresh start. So all these things that we've been talking about on the show, even as we were going through this, I'm like, yep, I need to put a renewed, refreshed focus on some of those things.
Absolutely.
So good reminders for us. We hope it's some good reminders for all of you listeners out there.
Righto. So thanks to everyone for listening to this slightly abbreviated episode. If you want to get in touch with us, you have a question, a comment, anything, send us a how's your mom, send us a how's your dad for the new year. We always love to get those. You can email us caregivinggenxstyle@gmail.com. You can send us a text or a voicemail at the following number, 804-723-1221. You can find us on Twitter. We don't post there all that much. The handle is at Gen X Caregiving. You can also find us on Facebook. That is where we post the most. The best way to go is to go into the show notes of this episode and just click on the link because there is an older page out there that we obviously don't post on anymore. So make sure you get the right one. We hope to hear from you soon. Have a great day.
Good night, everyone.